What up, my guys? Welcome to another show, man. It's NBA Talk with Jay and the Shark. We're here. It's Thursday. We're trying to get some cash, man. No matter good day, bad day, we still here every single day, man. Shark, what's up with you, my brother? Everything cool with you?
Absolutely. Taking a breath. As you said, good day or bad day. And obviously yesterday, worst NBA day I've had in 4.5 years. And that is not an overstatement. So it's just a snapshot to staying the course of action because you're sometimes just going to get demolished. Tough card, 13 games, all sorts of stuff going on. But Jay, 4 games today, Thirsty Thursday, November 10th, 2022. Let's get in there and let's discuss it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I had a tough start to the season as well, guys. So I always preach it's a long season. We're barely the start of the season. So I'm saying we got a long way to go, especially playoffs as well. But we will win, my guys. We definitely gonna figure this shit out. We bring out top plays every single day. Hit the like button, subscribe if you can, and retweet the show, my guys. Okay, let's do it. First game up here. We're going to the streets of Washington, D.C. here. We got the Wizards getting 3.5 points versus my Dallas Mavs here. Mavs did exactly what we thought they were going to do yesterday. Letdown spot. Look ahead to this game, Shark. And I can't help but to find some type of way to hop on the Mavs here. Obviously, the Wizards do have the rest advantage. They have 2 days rest advantage here, Shark, but I don't care. Double revenge spot. I'm looking at the Mavs here early. Obviously, I think the early is one of the best spots, although I do think they cast the trifecta spot. Early here is where they have the most energy as well. Obviously, they could possibly run out of gas in the fourth quarter, but I mean, it's Mavs. I like Mavs here, Shark. It's only Mavs I'm looking at here early and often.
Yeah, a lot of points to this game. And as you mentioned, Dallas obviously off the 3rd and 4 road back-to-back. Funky environment last night, which, of course, Jay had correctly. And I think this is a snapshot. I talk about this for myself, but when you see Jay fading a team correctly and then the very next night buying a team, that is the zigzag effect of NBA basketball. It's the ups and downs, the physical and emotional flows of teams over what I call the interweb of 82. And it really is. And I just want to reemphasize that point again, going back to my supposedly horrendous card yesterday and this whole thing, and we'll stay with the course here. It is 7.5 months to go. So as we center here, Dallas comes in here in what actually is a double revenge game from last year. The most recent matchup between these teams was actually a complete, utter blowout by Washington. 135 to 103. Jay, I mean, you know this team. I don't know what happened that particular day in Washington, D.C. 32-point loss, no defense and no offense. The line has not told a story here. Dallas was -6.5 at home and they lost. They came up on the road in the revenge game, supposedly showing strength. Did not matter. So when books lose a grip there, when it shortens up to 3, I don't think the line's telling you a story here. I think the books are telling you what Jay said yesterday. Porzingis and Luka had a significant disconnect and falling out in Dallas. Now he's over here. You get Washington here coming off a road trip, and Washington being really poor at home. I believe 0-3 last 3 at home with a couple situational blowout losses. Friday, November 4th against Brooklyn by 35 plus. Non-cover against Philly, non-cover against lackluster, yet somehow now amazing Indiana. I'm not on this game officially. I would lean Dallas with you, however.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what my money is on, guys. I took Mavs -1.5. Having a little talk with my kid last night, and she says I should take the trifecta, guys. So I hadn't taken it yet. I've only taken first half -1.5, -115 for the Mavs. I do like first quarter, and I do like for full game for what it's worth. I hadn't bet them yet, so I'll post out the plays on Twitter. But I'll probably the top play in this game is Mavs first half. I think they come out. Obviously, they knew that they had a bad game last night. They weren't playing their top game, guys. I don't have to say too much. We knew that they were looking ahead to this game. Now, just one thing I have to say: Dinwiddie hates the Wizards as well. Remember, guys, they fleeced them. They shipped him off to Dallas. They didn't want him there. He felt unwanted there. So Dinwiddie's gonna come to play. He was already hot last night. Probably gonna bring it into this game. But Luka's gonna be absolutely pissed off. He's usually nice to the media. He was not nice last night. It was real short, simple answers. His guy's pissed off. I think they can't wait to go up there to smash Porzingis and the guys. So huge game, in my opinion, coming from Luka and Dinwiddie. They want this one bad. And I heard Dorian Finney-Smith say last year as well, when they were going up against Porzingis, they wanted to get their win for Luka. This team has a beef with Porzingis. Dinwiddie beef with the Wizards. I think they want to come out here and trifecta smash them here, guys. So my money's on Mavs first half -1.5. Heavy lean to the first quarter and the full game -3.5. Not ducking no smoke, man. They coming off a back-to-back, but I still like it. Shark, let's go over here to the streets of Atlanta real quick. We got the Hawks laying 1 point versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Starting to hop all over the place. Made some money coming in on the Sixers. I see a place going -1 for the Sixers. Total sitting at 222. Shark, what do we do with this game, my guy?
This is going to be a tough game. I mean, obviously, you saw the way Atlanta played last night. It's not really telling us a great story here, because if we look back at the only other 3rd and 4 back-to-back Atlanta had this year, it was on the road. So again, I do want to keep emphasizing this through this broadcast. We are so young in the season. The spots that we target in December, Jan, Feb, and March, we look back and we say, okay, so this is how Atlanta functions on road back-to-backs. This is how they function at home. Not every back-to-back is created equally, and this is not the same as a road back-to-back Detroit, then Milwaukee. This is home, west, now east. And a lot of moving parts here. And you start to go back to last year. First matchup of the year, Philadelphia did hammer Atlanta in what was a revenge game off the previous year's playoffs, 122-94 on a -3.5. Then it came back in Atlanta. Atlanta had the line number -2.5. At that point in the campaign, Atlanta and Philadelphia were both hovering right around 500. Both were very mediocre through about 20-25 games last year. And Atlanta had a significant lead in this game, suggesting books had a grip on this line. And Atlanta completely melted the game in the fourth quarter. 20-9 Philadelphia to win that game on the road, 98-96. Then it came back later on in the season. Atlanta did get them by the same exact score, just reversed in terms of the teams, 98-96 on the road. This was a weird game, though. Trae Young didn't play. It was a Ciroc on ice game. Philadelphia was laying an egregiously large 11 points, and they completely laid an egg. So I've said this about a few other matchups this year. I think you can throw that game out. Just a total toss, inflated line, didn't really matter. So go back to the previous game in Atlanta with full rosters. Atlanta did lay -2.5. Now this shortens up from 2.5 to 1. And I think what books are telling you here is Atlanta does not function sustainably well on the back end of a 3rd and 4 back-to-back. Philadelphia, significant rest advantage here. I'm not on this game officially. I would lean Philadelphia here if I had to take a side.
Yeah, that's some good points there. I don't know what to do with this game. Me personally, I'm not betting against the Hawks here in this 4-game road stand. See what I'm saying? So it's 3rd game in 4 nights, but they hadn't had to travel anywhere. We said that the Hawks would catch a win here at the house. I wouldn't be surprised if they went 3-1 on this homestand. And guess what? These two teams play again in a few days. Maybe the Hawks get this first win, last game of their homestand, then they go out on the road where they had been playing well. Maybe they lose their one versus Philly as well. This is also Philly's first game on the road after 3 straight home games. They have a couple days of rest advantage, but when you have 3 straight home games and then you step out on the road for 1 game and then you come back to the house for 3 more, I just feel like it's a Hawks or nothing for a spot for me. It's a tough game. Obviously, with the spread, it's literally a toss-up here. I believe Philly got kicked out of the playoffs from the Hawks a few years ago. So, I mean, it wasn't last year, it was the year before last. So they're always going to have something against this team. Right now, they are missing hard. I don't care. I'm sorry. This is a good game to watch, but this is not something I'm betting, man. This is a dead toss-up, in my opinion. I guess if I had to play, if I had a free play, I would probably lean towards the Hawks. 4th straight home game. That's a real buy spot, in my opinion. Same gyms. So would lean Hawks, but I wouldn't also be surprised if the Sixers did get it done, bring the defense. If I had to bet the game, it'd be Hawks, my guys. Stand off of it. Yeah. Let's go over here.
Just one further point. I do think, and again, obviously last night, the first quarter, first half plays got all messed up. But I do think as we go forward, you see a lot of transparency, particularly in back-to-backs, in game flow reversals, night 1 to night 2. And you saw this with Atlanta last night. They really came out awful in the first quarter. Right. They couldn't score the ball. Jazz just handled them. And I do think we saw them try to push in the second half. And then, of course, Utah, just being Utah, said enough and scored 40 in the fourth quarter, whatever. But the Atlanta intentional game flow last night was coast early, reserve energy. We'll get them in the second half. And I do think on night 2 that might reverse. I think Atlanta might say, okay, we got dead legs. Let's try to get Philly early here, take them out of the game, and then hold on late. If I had a free play here on the Atlanta side, I would look at Atlanta early, specifically in the first quarter.
Yeah, that's a good look. I was just about to say that. So that means Hawks come out here in the first quarter. And I know Trae Young coming off a game where he didn't play. He was real rusty. Started out 1 of 8 shooting in that game. Maybe Trae Young comes out a little bit more in rhythm here today. 4 straight home game. Like I said, he didn't play the one before yesterday, but that's a good look. Hawks first quarter would be the top look in this game, my guys. I might sprinkle personally on that. To be honest with you, there, I definitely think it's a Hawks spot. You want to take them early. Hawks first quarter would be the top look there. Let's go over here to the streets of Miami here, guys. We got the Heat laying 10.5 points versus the Hornets. Not real. I mean, when I'm looking at the card last night before the lines come out, I'm like, I know that this is a Heat spot. I can only look towards Heat, but I'm not looking towards laying 10.5 with the Heat, my guys. Not right now. So, and I'm not looking towards back in the Hornets either. Not right now. Shark, you like anything in this game?
You said it. Both teams find themselves in a very, very similar position here. ATS. Charlotte is 0-6 last 6 ball games. ATS. And Miami, I think more surprisingly, is 1-5 in their last 6 games ATS. So again, we talk about this in any sport. Some of the hardest games to cap are when both teams are in the same statistical position versus an average. I do think, as you mentioned, the lean would be Miami here, because I do think Charlotte at a very low average is more sustainably where they will find themselves long term. I don't think Miami is going to continue covering, 1 out of every 6 games for the rest of the season. So I think there's more of an uptick in their average. And you go back to last year, Miami in the division here, which I think is a key point. This is Miami's first divisional game of the year. They played a bunch of games against the West and out of division Eastern opponents. This game will have merit. And we faded Charlotte correctly at Orlando when we said this is Orlando's first divisional home game. They should hammer Charlotte. And you saw what they did. Orlando beat this team 113-93. And going through it last year, again, very briefly, Miami does just straight up hammer this team. 114-99. I mean, bro, they do.
I see.
The first one last year, and particularly in Miami, too. That's a key point, particularly in Miami. First one last year, early season, 114-99, 15-point win on a -7. And then late season on a -4.5, just absolutely blew out Charlotte, 144-115. The 2 in-between games were a little bit funky in Charlotte. They pushed to -4 in overtime, 111-107. They did get Charlotte in the second matchup, 104-86, which looked like a blowout. It wasn't really as much of a blowout. That was a crazy game, too. 35-8 Miami in the second quarter. We were just talking about Philadelphia getting Atlanta 20-9 in the fourth. And I think that is an interesting point, just slightly to the outside of the box here. We talked about this all last year, and it still applies here. Charlotte and Atlanta, these younger teams within the Southeast Division, have the same mental makeup. They're very inconsistent. So Charlotte is very susceptible to a 35-8 quarter, just like Atlanta is susceptible to a 20-9 quarter. These teams don't have sustainable mental makeup. They're young. They shoot too many threes. They get down on themselves too much. And defensive teams like Miami and Philadelphia can really handcuff them if they say enough is enough. Let's put some Game 7 physicality on this team. So I think what you're really looking at here is a Miami spot. Free play, I would be landing out here at 10.5.
Yeah, that's a good point. They've won 5 straight versus Charlotte as well. Covered they're 4-1 against the spread in those. I can't lay the 10.5 with the Heat. That's just me personally. I cannot lay 10.5 with them, but it's a tough game, guys. I'm not betting this game, so I'm not going to even waste your time. Obviously, the Hornets have lost 6 straight. They're 0-5-1 against the spread last 6, basically going on a slide here. At some point, they will turn up. They did cover. They were covering versus the Blazers for a while last night. Then that fourth quarter just absolutely fell apart. They're getting a boatload of points here versus a team that's not in an offensive groove here. So that's one thing about the Hornets. At some point, they can get in somewhat of an offensive groove. You do kind of worry about them going down to Miami, maybe partying or something, but they didn't have much time. They here on the back-to-back. So I wouldn't be surprised what happened with this game. So I'm not betting it. It's pretty simple there for me. Last game up here, Shar. We're going to the streets of New Orleans, my guys. We got the Pelicans laying 6.5 points versus the Blazers. Both teams off a back-to-back. Both teams playing, 3rd and 4th, 5th game in 7 nights. this might be a really good under spot, man. I don't really see either one of these teams trying to run and gun, in my opinion. The Blazers had a couple of their main defenders sit out last night, so at least they got a couple of defenders here rested. What, 5 out of their last 6 games have went up? Yeah, 5 of their last 6 games have went under, Shark. I don't play a lot of totals, guys, and I actually hate playing totals, but I believe the under is probably the right side. Like, don't even mess with the spread here. You got to find something else because both teams. How do we lay 6.5, Shark, with both teams being on 5th and 7?
It's very tough stuff. And it's what I said with the previous game where both teams are in the same statistical position, both being horrendous ATS. This is where you find both teams in identical fatigue position. Mm-hmm. And the best spots in the sport are where you find one team on ultra fatigue and one team on ultra rest. Exactly. So again, this is just very difficult stuff. And, when I was looking at this last night, the one real takeaway I had from this game, just like we said with Atlanta and a couple of the other teams, I think New Orleans is about to go on a fucking run. Mm-hmm. If you look at their schedule for the first 11 games here, brutal.
It was horrible.
Yeah. I mean, bro, they had 8 road games versus only 3 home games. That's a very distinct split. They've only played back-to-back home games once this year. They had one random home game on a front-end back-to-back against Golden State, sandwiched in between 2 3-game road trips. They've lost 5 games. 3 of those losses have come in overtime to Utah, who, again, is just the early season ATS champion. Also a brutal backdoor in LA, and of course a loss at Atlanta in overtime. This team, we said it early season, we had a couple games correctly with them at I believe Charlotte and at Brooklyn, but they've lost a bunch of games here, bro. They're about to turn up. And I think if you look at some interesting dynamics between Portland and New Orleans, it's kind of funky stuff actually. Going back a couple seasons, Portland won 4 in a row against New Orleans. Then New Orleans won 4 in a row against Portland. Then Portland won 3 in a row against New Orleans. And last year, New Orleans won all 3 against Portland. It's crazy cluster. It's just like this. It's all over the place. And so that would suggest Portland. I think the line is short. The last game was 17.5, a blowout, 127.94, of course, with gutted rosters. That was a ridiculous line. This is shorter. Portland coming in here. New Orleans laying these lines. We said this before. New Orleans obviously went to the first round of the playoffs last year, but New Orleans, I think, is getting more so like conference championship style lines. Like You would not expect New Orleans, as currently constructed, given the history of this franchise, laying 7 points to a Portland team that is 8-3 ATS and turned up here. I think it's over-adjusted. And I do love New Orleans going forward. They get Houston, Memphis, Chicago, Boston, and Golden State going through the 23rd of November. I think this is a tough spot. If I had to take a free play, I would expect a tighter game with Portland continuing this pissed off ATS tour early season here.
Yeah, that's a good point there. I could definitely see it'd be interesting to see what happens. So this isn't even the last game of the Blazers road trip. Because I'm like, man, these guys have been on the road forever. They have one more game versus Dallas. The last time they played them, they lost by 50. So I'm just kind of worrying if maybe they not necessarily take this game off, but maybe they're looking like we got fucking smoked last time versus the Mavs. Let's save a little something for the last game on the road trip. It's either going to go one way. It's either going to go outlaw for this one, and they're going to really get smoked again on the last game of the road trip, where it's obviously the most horrible spot. But if they're looking ahead to that game, maybe a couple guys that were questionable yesterday sit out this one, and then they kind of save some for that next game. I know me personally, say if I'm looking at the NBA schedule, we got smoked by 50 by the Mavs. I'm kind of just I'm looking towards that one, man. But like I said, I didn't bet this game. Both teams, 5th game in 7 nights. I can't buy neither one of these teams. But Shark does have a good point. When you have both of them on such bad rest advantage, I couldn't talk you off just taking the points. You see what I'm saying? Taking that cushion in this game where it could really go either way. So I couldn't talk you off that. It was at 7. It's come down to 6.5. The Pelicans have played 6 of their last 7 games on the road, and now they come to the house. The Blazers have played this is going to be their 5th straight road game. So I don't know what to do with this game, man. I'm not a huge total better. The fatigue could come on defense, but just the way I see it, I don't see why these guys will be pushing the pace tonight. You see what I'm saying? If it's more of a half-court type of game, it's easier to play defense in the half-court. When it's the run and gun, that's when you don't want to play defense. So if the pace is a little bit slower for both teams, which I think it will, I'd be looking towards the under this game. Both teams coming out back-to-back, 34, 5-7. I'd be looking towards the under, but like I said, I'm not a total bettor. Definitely not a total expert, my guys. So go with what you know, man. Let's get over here to some free picks, my guys. Real quick, let's talk about some shirts, man. We got $10 off shirts. Use promo code WIN10 over at the site, jmoneyismoney.com. We got Jay and Shark shirts for only $15. Smack City shirts, Us Against the Bookies, and Let's Get Some Cash, my guys. You use that promo code WIN10 or just DM myself or Shark for a shirt. Comes with a free pair of glasses as well, man. Get those shirts. You got a few more days to get those shirts, my guys, and then we're out. But Shark, what you liking on tonight's card, my brother?
Tough card tonight, and obviously, last night didn't go our way, and this is not any sort of reaction to that. And I do want to make that point. If there were 4 bangers tonight, I would be ripping huge plays tonight. This is pure market evaluation. We just went through all the details. You have teams in the same statistical spot coming up, theoretically, teams in brutal fatigue, brutal travel. You have random motivations, 3x revenge, 2x revenge, all sorts of stuff. It's just tough stuff. And maybe I got a little out of line yesterday. I'm not going to sit here and apologize. What we do as a lifestyle, it is 9 words of lifestyle. All respect and love to the chat. You guys are dominant human beings. We will dominate this season. We're actually right about where we were last year when we profited 110 units. So just remember, the early season is a tough go. And also just remember, in sports betting, just like any other thing statistically oriented in life, oftentimes clusters exist. And it's something that is hard to figure out why it can be so great and so awful, and so great and so awful are what become the neutral mean. Neutral mean should be just 1, 1, 1, 1. It's usually plus 10, minus 10, plus 10, minus 10. Doesn't make any sense. I don't understand it. It's how it works out. So we will be refining this going forward. Top plays only. And all respect and love to you guys. Jay Money, hell of a show. Close them out and let's dominate.
681 people watching live, man. Hit the like button, subscribe, retweet, all that good stuff. For me, man, I'm going with the Mavs early in this one. The only thing my money is on so far is Mavs -1.5, -115. I lean Mavs in the first quarter and full game -3.5, guys. I just hadn't bet it. Trying to keep it real with you guys. I see a trifecta spot from the Mavs, though. So I only took my top play on the day. Mavs first half, -1.5. Revenge spot for Dinwiddie versus the Wizards. Revenge spot for Luka and the boys going up against Porzingis here. They will smash these guys tonight, my guys. Obviously, Bill's still out for the Wizards as well, but give me the Mavs here in a bounce back spot. Bounce back Jay, Mavs first half, heavy lean to first quarter and full game, heavy lean to Hawks first quarter, and also heavy lean to this Pelicans and Blazers under the 224, my guys. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. We appreciate your time. Please hit the like button, subscribe, retweet, all that good stuff. We out, my guys. It's Us Against the Bookies. Let's get this cash. Back tomorrow.